Yes, guys, we can start now. Today, we are going to talk about routing protocols. This chapter will take us the whole week, right? But you remember we did Ccna 2, and this chapter was the last chapter for Ccna 2. So I'm going to start there in order for you to understand chapter 1 from Ccna 3, right? So we're going to talk about routing protocols. Number one, you have to understand what is routing. What is routing, like according to you? Routing. There is a word router, you can see. So this is a process So it's a process of path selection, right? So when we are talking about routing, hey, my friends, what happened? Yeah, when we are talking about routing, you have to see a process. That process will allow you to select a path, right? Or you can say, so routing will allow you to choose the best path to reach the destination. Suppose like I wanna reach your network, right? Routing will allow me to reach your network. So routing is a process of reaching other networks. So there are so many ways we can define it. So this is the process of reaching networks, right? Like you have your company and you have like 10 networks. For you to reach like other networks, you are going to use what we call routing. So routing will allow you to choose the best path. Like maybe the best path or the best road for you to reach town. There are so many ways you can go from here to town. There are so many roads, right? Now, routing will allow you to choose the best road, right? Now, when we are talking about routing protocols, oh, now, routing protocols, they are what? They are like computer programs, right? They are computer programs or algorithms. Right? So those are the computer programs that you're gonna use like in order to select what? Best roads, right? It's computer programs or algorithms for choosing what? For selecting the best path. Right? We spoke about routing. Routing will allow you to connect networks or to reach networks. Now, you will need some computer programs. Those computer programs will allow you now to reach those networks, right? So we call those computer programs routing protocols. because there are a lot. That is S, routing protocols, right? So shortly, for us to connect networks, we will need what? Routing protocols. We will need what? Routing protocols. Is it clear? For connecting networks, there are only routing protocols that can allow you to do so, right? Like these computers, they are in computer A. Okay, let me draw it like this. Draw. Okay. Let's say here, it's my network. My network A. There is my network B. Right? And those two networks will have like this PC1 and there is this PC3, right? Now, for me to connect those two networks, I can only use what? Routing protocols, right? It's only routing protocols that will allow you to connect those two networks. The RP. Routing protocols, right? There is no other way those two networks, they can talk. You need routing protocols. You have to configure routing protocols, right? So I can take another example. Did you draw my diagram? Drawing can explain more than talking. By doing this, you know already what routing protocols can do, right? You can see it's a simple diagram. So when PC1 wanna talk to I want it. So the message will go here like this, and reach this one, right? Yeah, and yeah. Now remember, guys, when we are talking about routing protocols, you have to understand that we are talking about routers, right? So when we are talking about routing protocols, we are referring to routers because it's only routers that can connect networks. So routing protocols will run where? On your router, right? So you have to configure routing protocols on your router, right? Well, no, the naming is not a problem, yeah. Can we move forward, guys? Now, when we are talking about routers, Routers will have what? Interfaces, right? When we are talking about routers, your router will have many interfaces, right? Every interface will be a network. This is what you have to understand again. One interface means what? One network. So when you have a router, the way you can see your router, every interface, every port, it's a network, right? And when we are saying like it's a network means that there is an IP address, right? If I can draw it for you, it's just, suppose like this is your router, right? Let's say there may be like 3 ports, right? You have a router with 3 ports or 3 interfaces. So what I've said is this: every like interface, it's a network. Right? Every interface from your router, it's a network. And for every network, there is a different network ID. There's an IP address. Like IP address 1. Those are the network like ID. They are different, right? Network like ID because I cannot write. Guys, so is it clear? If you're not draw, you can continue. Like this router that I have here. You can see there are some ports here. For those 2 interfaces, they are networks, right? And when we are talking about networks, means what? You can connect switches, right? So it can be like this. This is too big. Let me make it like this. Oh, okay. I know what I want to do. How can I do it so that I can? Okay, let's see. Let's say you have router 1, right? Those are your interfaces. There are 3, right? You can connect 3 networks. So this one can be like switch 1, like switch 2, and this one too can be like switch 3, right? And like every switch will have a PC or PCs, even many. Right? And here you can have your network ID. Maybe here it's 192 for this one, 168.1.0 slash 24. This one can be 192.168.2.0 slash 24, because they are different networks. This one can be 192.168.3.0 slash 24, right? Now, suppose that there is another router here. Router 2. This is your router 2 with like some switches here. There's another switch, maybe 4. There's another switch 5. Right? Now, when you wanna connect those two routers, right? The connectivity of those two routers, you can only use what? Routing protocols. The RP. Right? And this RP, you're going to configure it where? You're going to configure it here and here. Right? So for router 1 and router 2, like to talk, you need the routing protocols. You go on router 1, you configure your routing protocol, and you go to router 2, you configure your routing protocols. But in summary, you have to understand when you have a router, your router will have the interfaces. For every interface, this is a network, right? And when you are talking about a network, you are talking about a unique network ID, right? Not the IP address, network ID. Okay, we can move forward. You can understand from here. Now, because we are talking about routing protocols, now we are going to talk about the types of them. Types of routing protocols, right? Routing protocols will connect networks. Routing protocols will connect routers. But which type of routing protocol? This is what we are going now to see. Because there are so many routing protocols. You in your company, you can pick up your own routing protocol. This guy can pick up their own routing protocol. But you as a specialist, you have to understand those types. You have to know their advantages, disadvantages, and in which case you can go for this type of routing protocol. So we do have 3 types. We have like 3 types of routing protocols, but I'm gonna use a table. Maybe it's gonna allow me to do it much better. So when we are talking about routing protocols, we have to understand that we do have 3 types, right? The first one is what we call the default. Or maybe my tables can be like this. Let me make it, I can merge first this one and I can do this. So we say that there are 3 types, right? The first one is what? The default one. The second one is what? The static. And the last one is what? Dynamic. Right? Right? So we have the default one. We have what we call the static. And we have what we call the dynamic. Those are the three types of routing protocols. So in other way, you can say it like this. There are three ways that I can connect my routers or my networks. I can use the default path or default routes, or I can use the static path or static route, or I can use what? The dynamic route. So we are like here, we wanna go to town. There are three ways of going to town. I can do it by using the default route, or I can do it by using the static route or the dynamic route, right? So you have two routers. There are three ways you can connect routers, or three types. You can do it by using the default configurations, or you can do it using the static, or you can do it using the dynamic, right? Any question? Guys, means this when we are here, right? Let's say like I have like my router 1 and there is my router 2, all right? There are my switch, there's my switch here, or one switch or multiple with computers there. There are some switches you connect there with your computers there. Now you wanna connect those two routers. Those two networks must talk now, right? You can do it by using what? The default. You can configure the default protocol. Right? Did you understand? You can do it using the default way. Like, but we're gonna see how to configure it now. But you have just first to understand, like, for me to connect those routers, I can use the default routes. Now, the second way that we spoke about, somebody else can do it like this. There's one router here. There's another router here. There can be another router here. Now, you wanna make your connection like this. There are switches and computers there. There are switches like one side and computers. There are also switches that are connected there. Now you wanna connect those three routers, right? You can go also for what? For static. So you can configure there what? There also you can do the static and so on, right? You understand? And they can do a default or static. It depends on you. Right? Still, they're gonna communicate. But we're gonna see the advantages and the disadvantages. The last one, I wanna go down. How to go down now? Yeah, I must insert the new page. Okay. The last one is the dynamic one. where you have like one router here. Maybe you have another router here. You can do it by configuring the dynamic routing protocol. Yes, any question? No. Yeah, it depends on if you have 10, it depends. Because I'm just making it short, right? So those diagrams will allow you to understand how you can do it. So you can go using the dynamic way, a static way, or default way, right? Any question before moving forward? I'm just giving you 1 second for those who are drawing, right? Yes, we can move forward. We can go back now to my table here, right? Default way means what? You're gonna have a single destination. There is only a single destination. Right? Static way means a fixed path. It means that you're gonna tell like your kid, you say, okay, for you to go from here to town, this is the roads you have to follow. This is the meaning of static, right? You tell your kids how to reach the school by only following one road, the same road like every day. This is the static way. So like router 1, when I talk to router 2, you are going to do the static configuration. When you are using the static routing protocol, means what? Means that those two routers can only follow a fixed path. But the problem comes when that road is broken. Suppose like there's a traffic jam, your kids will never reach the school anymore. You understand that? Suppose like somebody can cut that link between those two routers or disconnect that link, means those two networks, they won't gonna talk anymore, right? And if there is a problem, you have to go there manually. Static, it's manually. Yourself, you are telling routers, right? You are telling routers manually how to reach each other. You go to router 1, you say, router 1, for you to go to router 10, you must follow this path. You must pass by router 2, router 4, router 5, router 6, right? This is the meaning of static. It's so easy to configure, but there are so many problems. When there is a traffic jam, your kids will never reach the school anymore because you told them to follow only one path, one road, right? Dynamic, this is the best. But the static one, there is also some cases you can use the static, especially when you want like everybody to reach a particular server. You can do the static because you are pointing like everybody to a single server, right? But dynamic means what? Dynamic means that your kids will make like its own decision, which path to follow. So routers are going to make their own selection. right? Routers are going to talk by themselves how to reach the destination. There is no need for you to just go. You're going to tell your kids, hey, you know, when you are here, when there's a traffic jam, do this. No, your kid by himself will make a decision. Maybe if there's a danger or there's some guys who are robbing your kid, because your kid can think by himself. You're going to say, I want to go this way. Or maybe this way is too long. Let me use this path. So dynamic way means that routers are going to decide by themselves how to reach like each other. You only do the basic like configurations. So for router 1, like to reach router 10, they are going to decide by themselves. They are going to check which one is the best path, right? So even if there is a problem, even if one link goes down, your kids will know, okay, there's a traffic jam here, let me use another road, right? Any question? My friend Paulina, you must ask me 2 questions, huh? Don't, you only ask my brother-in-law, huh? Must ask me too. Now we're gonna talk about now the type of dynamic protocols. We are going to be focalized on dynamic protocols, right? But we're gonna see how to configure the static, the default, and the dynamic. Because the static is very short, the default is very short. And remember, we did already the static, but today I will show you how to do the default. And we can do again an exercise on a static, right? But dynamic, there are a lot. There are so many types. Let me split my table in number of columns to number 4. Now, when we are talking about dynamic protocols, there are 2 types. There is what we call the IGP and right? You can just go, maybe if you are looking versus, you can get them here, right? Maybe if you want to read more. So there are 2 types of dynamic protocols, the IGP and the EGP. The I means interior. There it means what? The exterior. It's this word, like exterior. So when we are talking about dynamic routing protocol, you have to understand that there are 2 types. There is what we call interior gateway protocols and exterior gateway protocols, right? Now I don't know how to split now this one. How am I gonna split it now? Okay, there's the interior gateway like protocols and the exterior gateway protocol, right? And when we are talking about the interior, this word The interior means single management. That's word interior. Okay, let me make first my table small. It looks now big, giving me a problem. I can make it small. Single management or administration. What does it mean by this one? It means that, like your company, right? Your company will be responsible of what? Of this type of routing protocols. You understand? Your company will be managing those routers, like those routing protocols. So when you go for interior, you took this type of protocol, means it's you are going to manage those routers, those routing protocols, it's you, right? But this one, the exterior gateway protocol, it's the internet service provider. Right? So this type of routing protocol, you are not the only one who are going to manage it. Most of the time, the ISP, they are going to manage it. The internet service providers and other companies. You are not the single person who's going to manage those routers. Those routers are going to be managed by what? By Telecom, by Cellc, by MTN, and so on. Right? I know you are tired. We started. Right? Jonathan? So there are two types of routing protocols, the interior one and the exterior one. This interior one, the IGP, right, means this. Even if you have 100 routers, you are the person who's going to manage those routers, right? You have a single management. Your company will be dealing with all those routers. But when you go for exterior gateway protocols, you are not the person who's going to manage now those routers. Those routers are going to be managed by the internet service providers, like Telecom, Cellc, and so on. Those are the people who are going to manage what? Right? Did you understand? Before me giving you like a break, let me summarize. We are talking about routing protocols, right? Routing protocols means that first, we define what does it mean by routing, right? I told you that when we are speaking about routing, we are speaking about like a process, right? A process of choosing a better route, like a process of choosing a better path, like between routers or between networks. So you have many networks, you wanna connect them, you can go for routing, because routing will allow you to connect those networks, right? And remember that when we are talking about routing, we are talking about routers. Routers will have ports or interfaces. For every interface, we have to consider it like a network, right? So routing protocols, we are talking about connecting routers, right? Now, we have three types of routing protocols. We have the static one, we have the default, and we have the dynamic. When we are talking about like the default, means you have only a single destination. When we are talking about static, static means that you have to configure your roads manually. You have to tell your routers manually how to reach the destinations. We saw that it's easy, but if there is a link failure, you are going to have problems because those routers, they cannot talk anymore. And the last one was the dynamic. Dynamic means routers are going to make their own selections. There is no need for you there to tell routers how to reach like each other. Right? So routers, they are going to make their own decisions. Now, we say that we are going to be focalized on dynamic routing protocols. When we are talking about those dynamic, there are two types: the interior gateway protocol and the exterior. The interior means that your company will be managing the routers. Your company will be configuring those dynamic routing. But when you go for exterior, the exterior means that the internet service providers, they are going to manage your routers. You are not the only person who's going to touch on those routers. The internet service providers like Telecom, Cell C, they are going to do what? To manage the configurations. And remember, the highest engineers in networking, they master what? They master the exterior gateway protocol. Because this is the language of the internet. Right? The exterior gateway protocol, this is the protocol of the internet. Right? When we are talking about the internet, we are talking about millions of routers that are connected like around the world. So when you know the exterior gateway like protocols, means you know how to connect providers. Right? So this is the language of the internet. The highest guys for networking, they master the exterior gateway protocols, how to connect the providers, right? So now I'm going to give you a break and we are going to meet maybe after 30 minutes, right?